In November of 2020, AEW Executive Vice President Kenny Omega and ironically WWE 2K24 cover star Cody Rhodes, among other things, announced that AEW would be making their own video game. Now, that was the perfect time to announce a new wrestling video game. Not only would people be stuck in their homes for the foreseeable future due to the pandemic, but 2K did not release a WWE game that year, due to WWE 2K20 being a disaster of humongous proportions. People wanted a change, and an AEW game could potentially be just that. The game's announcement and subsequent trailer were received exceptionally well, and barring some minor concerns with the game's art style, things were looking up for AEW Fight Forever. With Yuke at the helm of development, AEW Fight Forever was going to be inspired by the wrestling games of the 2000s like WWF No Mercy, including fast-paced arcade gameplay, and easy to learn but hard to master controls. This is where issues started to creep in. AEW Fight Forever had a very troubled development cycle. The game was originally meant to release in late 2022, but eventually released in the summer of 2023. This has become fairly standard in the video game industry, but it's the reason for the delay that struck me as very odd. The reason for the game's delay was not for extra polish or something similar, but due to issues with the ESRB, the organization that assigns age ratings to games. AEW Fight Forever was apparently deemed too violent, and the game had to be delayed for over 6 months due to this reason. This, along with rumors of the game going way over budget, meant that something just didn't feel right about it. On the 29th of June 2023, AEW Fight Forever released during the worst possible time. Not only did it release during the whole CM Punk debacle, but it released during a time where the WWE 2K games were actually good again. People didn't really need change anymore because they got it from somewhere else. Something that also didn't help was that the game itself was quite bad. So bad in fact that less than a year after its release, its 24-hour peak on Steam is 9 players. So what happened? Why has everyone given up on this game? Today we'll be making a deep dive into why AEW Fight Forever is a terrible game and how it failed to do anything to appease its fanbase. Let's check it out. AEW Fight Forever's gameplay gives a good first impression. Combos are quick and flow well, grappling is fine, and most of the animations look and sound good. This is more of a facade though, as a lot of the gameplay quickly falls apart after only a few matches. The first thing I noticed is that you can't change directions while running. If you want to start running, you have to commit to the angle you've chosen. This is a weird decision and I don't see how it benefits the gameplay. That, however, is the least of the gameplay's problems. My biggest gripe with the game is that you cannot kick out of finishers. In real life AEW, wrestlers can be hit by a steel chair, land on thumbtacks, have an atomic bomb dropped on them, and still kick out at 2. But in the game, all it takes for the match to end is one finisher. Neither I nor the AI managed to kick out of any finisher during my entire playthrough of the game, and I was playing on the highest difficulty. I get protecting your finisher in real life, but this is not fun in a video game setting. The main reason behind this is that the only way of kicking out of a pin is button mashing. I am absolutely not a fan of button mashing in any game, but in some cases I do understand that maybe there is no other way to convey a real life scenario. However, kicking out of pins has been solved for about 20 years. Timing your kick out makes a lot more sense and lends itself for more exciting near falls. And even when WWE 2K22 had you button mashing to kick out of a pin, it at least had the courtesy of giving you visual feedback of how close you were to kicking out. AEW Fight Forever gives you no feedback, and this is a general issue that the game has. The game refuses to give you feedback about anything, and this makes gameplay even worse. For example, AEW Fight Forever has 2 buttons for reversals. One is for reversing punches and the other for reversing grapples. It's a decent idea in principle, but where it falls apart for me is that the game doesn't indicate when you're supposed to press the buttons or what button you were actually supposed to press. By comparison, WWE games have a pretty strict reversal window, but at least they tell you when to press the button. In Fight Forever, I always felt a bit lost because I didn't know how to improve my timing on reversals. The game gave me no info about them and it just left me there randomly guessing when I was supposed to reverse incoming moves. I get what Yuke is trying to do here. A lot of games in the past decade have succeeded by taking inspiration from older games. However, where those other games take that inspiration and adapt it for a modern audience, Yuke takes that inspiration from older wrestling games and just copies everything those older games did. The rest of the gameplay is passable, a bit fun at times maybe, but its flaws overshadow the entire experience. I feel like Yuke failed to consider that some changes over the past 20 years in wrestling games have happened for a reason. In 2024, you cannot reasonably expect me to get arthritis just so I can kick out of a pin, nor can you expect me to randomly guess when I should press the reversal button. Another issue with the game is that weapons disappear after 2 hits. For a game marketed on its violence, it just seems odd to me that weapons literally disappear after you use them twice. I guess it's for balancing purposes, but why are we trying to balance a supposedly fun arcade game? Did someone at Yuke's think anyone would play this competitively? Nobody's even playing it casually, let alone competitively. It's not the biggest problem, but it's just a very odd decision. What's surprising to me is that Kenny Omega, who had a hand in the game's development and also acted as its spokesperson, promised that fixes would be coming to the game. Before the game's release, Evil Uno said that the game would have post-release updates similar to No Man's Sky. We will analyze that claim a bit more later, but in general, the game has not been fixed. The issues that existed on day 1 are still here almost a year after AEW Fight Forever's release. AEW Fight Forever is severely lacking in match types. The game can only handle 4 people in the ring at the same time, which limits the matches you can have. In one-on-one matches, there are 5 different stipulations. A normal match, which is well, that. A false count anywhere match, which adds weapons and the ability to pin your opponent anywhere in the arena. A lights out match that kinda limits your visibility. Okay, I'm obviously joking, but this is pretty much the same as a false count anywhere match. A ladder match which can only be played in one-on-one conditions, and the barbed wire death match, which is actually really fun. I love how the wrestlers interact with their surroundings, and watching them hit the exploding barbed wire is always fun. The big explosion itself is also pretty convincing, unlike its real life equivalent. Tag team matches on the other hand are horrendous. Yuke's probably couldn't enforce the rules, so every tag team match is no DQ by default. Even though it's no DQ, the game forces both non-legal participants out of the ring whenever they enter it. It's a mess, and it's only made worse by the fact that you can only control one half of the tag team. If you tag out, you'll have to watch 2 AIs fight each other. Finally, remember how 2K24 fixed tag team wrestling in video games by giving each non-legal participant only one opportunity to interfere with a match? Yeah, this doesn't exist here, so pins get broken up constantly. Tag team matches, as well as 3-ways and 4-ways, cannot have stipulations attached to them. I'm not sure if this was a decision or a limitation of the game's engine, but having stipulations only in one-on-one matches is exceptionally bad. Finally, we have the Casino Battle Royale mode, which is AEW's version of the Royal Rumble. It's mostly fine, but having a limit of 4 wrestlers in the ring at all times is definitely immersion breaking. I tried. I really did. I searched in casual mode, I searched in ranked mode, but unsurprisingly, I did not manage to find a single online match. I did play a few matches online when the game released, and I do remember the netcode being better than that of WWE 2K. Here's the thing though, you can have the best netcode in the multiverse. It won't matter when your player base can't even fill a starting 11 for a football team. A Battle Royale mode was also added after the game's release, and unsurprisingly, I didn't manage to find a match there either. I did manage to play with bots, however, and I can see the potential. You go around the stadium collecting weapons that you can use on your opponents to gain an advantage. It's a bit janky at times, but I think AEW would benefit from releasing this mode as a separate game for free. There is a massive Battle Royale saturation on the market currently, but I'm sure this could get more than 9 players. Road to Elite was one of AEW Fight Forever's main selling points. It's essentially a career mode where you play through a year of AEW television with a wrestler of your choice. Now, this game has very limited creation features, and I wasn't really inspired to make my own character. I still wanted to play as a heel though, and what better way to do that than by picking CM Punk. He's not here to make friends, he's here to eat muffins. I chose Punk because he's apparently still the company's top heel, despite not being there for nearly a year. Before we dive into the storylines, I just want to talk about all the extra useless stuff this mode has. In between matches, you travel from city to city, where you get to optionally taste the local cuisine, as well as visit an important landmark of the city. You can also play various poorly made minigames, with the highlight being an AEW trivia mode, where half the time instead of asking you actual questions about AEW, it asks you questions like what was Kenny Omega's position in hockey when he was younger. Why is all of this here? If the rest of the game was good, I wouldn't mind all of this. But look at how much time and resources are spent in making stuff that nobody cares about. Why did this time not go into making the gameplay better or, I don't know, adding more match types? This is the type of stuff you add after you've made a good game, not before. This is the equivalent of building a house with no foundations, and instead of fixing that, you're already installing a basketball court with broken rims. The storylines themselves are terrible. If you thought that My Rise had boring plots, these are downright horrendous. My favorite example was Death Triangle asking me to join them, me accepting, and then they immediately turned on me. The game genuinely gaslit me because I thought I pressed the wrong option. But no, I checked the footage and I had clearly accepted to join them. The game just wanted to give me the illusion of a choice. This culminated in a Tornado 3-on-1 handicap match that I had absolutely zero chance of winning. Another great example was when Dax Harwood randomly betrayed me to join forces with Chris Statlander. When I beat them both, Jim Ross literally says something to the effect of "we'll never know why these two got mad at Punk." This is the developers themselves essentially accepting that they have no idea why all of this just happened. Who wrote this? Did he forget he had a deadline and just came up with something on the spot? Even so, I can come up with 10 reasons of why that storyline could have happened, other than that we will never know. The final storyline has you fighting a series of gauntlet matches, all of them which I lost, and it culminates with a 4-way match for the AEW World Championship. A 4-way match which Chris Jericho won, and you can't even replay matches in this mode. My story finished with Chris Jericho winning the AEW Championship. This honestly sums up my entire experience with this game. When this game released, it cost €60 and I doubt it justified its price tag with bad gameplay and no reason to play more than 5 hours at best. What's even worse is the game's microtransactions. AEW Fight Forever released with a relatively small roster. Even worse was the fact that people were obviously cut in order to be sold separately as DLC, with the most egregious example being FTR. FTR were the World Tag Team Champions when the game released, and you had to pay extra in order to get them. In the past, I believe we all have made fun of EA's or 2K's microtransactions, but this is even worse. This game was released with the Tag Team Champions sold separately. This is the equivalent of releasing a FIFA game without Barcelona, an NBA 2K game without the Knicks, or an NFL game without Taylor Swift's boyfriend's team. You have to pay €5 to €12 to get each wrestler, which is frankly extortionate. WWE 2K games have a similar model where you pay €10 to get 5 wrestlers, a model that I'm not a fan of, but it's not terrible. I don't get it. The game obviously doesn't have an active player base, yet its DLC is extremely expensive. Evil Uno said that this game would have updates similar to that of No Man's Sky. What No Man's Sky does differently though is that its updates are free. Swerve Strickland recently won the AEW World Championship, and in order to get him, you have to pay €10. The Women's World Champion, Toni Storm, cost $12 for her old gimmick. Why not make all of this free? I don't get why Yuke or THQ Nordic is trying to nickel and dime the remaining 10 people that are playing this game. I genuinely wanted this game to succeed, because I believe that either in the gaming or the wrestling industry, competition is important. I may not watch AEW right now, but that doesn't mean that I want it to go away, I just want it to be better. And the same applies for this game. I don't want Yuke to give up, but they have a mountain to climb if a potential sequel is going to be good. I know this game was not meant as competition for the WWE games, but this isn't even competition for Wrestling Empire, which was made by one person, with a box of scraps. Right now, AEW Fight Forever is in a really bad place. For context, I do not know how to develop games, but right now, I could make a game from scratch, upload it to Steam, and it would still have only 9 fewer players than AEW Fight Forever. And that was my analysis of AEW Fight Forever. If you wanna continue binging wrestling game videos, why not watch how WWE 2K24 is accidentally unique? See you in the next one.